perspective was that just like a family, if the family, the house is all men, and then if robbers come, they can fight better with the robbers. But if they have women folk in the house, they have to fight with the robbers, but at the same time they have to worry about their women folk. So also like if a group of caravans, they were traveling over the mountains and were attacked by bandits. If they are all men, it would be easier to defend themselves. If they have women inside the caravan, they have to fight and worry about the women at the same time. So in the same way, once you have nuns, then the monks, in a way, have to look after the nuns. Because the nuns cannot live alone. When the nuns live alone, it was the experience that many of them were assaulted and raped and all that. So the Buddha stopped them from going to the forest alone and all that. They are not like monks. Monks can easily go alone into the forest with less worries. So the nuns have to depend on the monks. So the monks, they want to do their practice, they have to teach the nuns again, and they have to worry about the nuns and all this. So their practice is not so good. That's one reason. Also, another reason is that why the true Dhamma deteriorate. Buddha said that inside the Sangha itself, foolish men arise. And these foolish men, they adulterate the Dhamma by writing new books. So the Buddha warned in the Upama Samyutta, I think 20.7, that later that monks will not want to listen to the original Buddha's suttas. Instead, they want to listen to the words of disciples. That means later writings, like the Mahayana Sutras, the Abhidhamma, the commentaries, the Visuddhimagga, Jataka stories, all this. These Jataka stories are so childish, and yet people think, some people accept them to be true. How can animals talk? It's because of the Jataka stories that they create this concept of parami, that the Buddha cultivated paramis over a long period of time. But this word parami was never mentioned by the Buddha in the original discourses. The Buddha doesn't even know the word parami, and the Buddha also never heard of the word parami. And you look into the stories about the paramis, how the Buddha cultivated the paramis, some of them contradict the Dhamma. For example, the Vesantara Jataka, the story of how the Buddha, to perfect his giving parami, he gave away his wife and 2 children to a heartless beggar whom he knew was going to beat them. And then in spite of knowing that this heartless beggar is going to torture his children and his wife, he gave away the wife and children. This contradicts the Dhamma. The Buddha says a wise person's charity should not harm yourself, should not harm others. Right? So when he gives away his wife to this beggar, he harms them, or he harms himself. So other things like in the Jatakas, I mentioned that a long time ago our Bodhisattva was born as a rabbit, and then he saw this hunter hunting the whole day in the forest, could not shoot any animal. So at night the hunter was boiling the water and he was very hungry and nothing to eat. And this Bodhisattva, this rabbit, in order to perfect his dana, his charity, parami, he jumped into the boiling water, committed suicide for the hunter to eat. This is a very silly story. And then also like this story of the Bodhisattva, a long time ago, he was born as a human being. One day in the forest, from the top of the hill, he saw this tigress was hungry. So because the tigress was so hungry, it had no milk to give its cubs. So if the cubs would die. So this Bodhisattva, he jumped from the top of the hills, committed suicide to feed the tigress. This type of story, people are impressed, but it's really silly stories if you really think about it. and it contradicts the Dhamma. The Buddha says that a good man's or a wise man's charity must not harm himself or harm others. So okay, we'll stop here for tonight.